नमस्कार, इफी टॉकाथॉन 2016 के एक और बहुत ही खास संस्करण के साथ इस वक्त हम आपके साथ जुड़ रहे हैं। आप हमें देख रहे हैं लाइव मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन ब्रॉडकास्टिंग के यूट्यूब, फेसबुक और ट्विटर चैनल पर। जी हाँ, सोशल मीडिया एक ऐसा सशक्त माध्यम बन चुका है जिसके तहत दुनिया भर से इस वक्त हजारों करोड़ों इंटरनेट यूजर्स हमसे जुड़ रहे हैं और साथ ही साथ जुड़ रहे हैं हमारे बहुत ही खास मेहमानों के साथ। इफी 2016 कई मायनों में खास है और खास इसके क्योंकि एक नई सोच के साथ, एक युवा शक्ति के साथ इस बार इफी 2016 अपने दर्शकों से मुखातब हो रहा है और उसी की बानगी इस वक्त हमारे इस सेट पे देखने को मिल रही है। हमारे साथ ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं ऋषि मेहता और साथ ही साथ निशांति इवानी, रीना मोहन और निकलस। ये वो एक पीढ़ी है फिल्म मेकर्स की, एक इंडिपेंडेंट फिल्म मेकर्स की, एक नए इंडिपेंडेंट फिल्म मेकर्स की जो बात एक आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स आइडिया और एक नई सोच को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं। एंड वी आर वेरी प्राउड टू होस्ट ऑल ऑफ यू ऑन द प्लेटफॉर्म ऑफ इफी 2016। निशांति, सबसे पहले आपसे शुरुआत करेंगे। ये बीन है टुडेस इफी के मंच पर, आप सभी बहुत बार आए हुए हैं। सबसे पहले ऑन हाउ यू सी इफी, बिकॉज इट्स अ huge massive festival और अगर हम भारत के अंतर्राष्ट्रीय फिल्मोत्सव की बात करें तो उसको आप किस तरह से देखते हैं?
This is one platform where you watch some really amazing films, and also a place where you learn a lot about cinema from different parts of the world, and you have great workshops here. And the last couple of times I've come, I've taken back so much from IFFI. So,
Richie, your thoughts on this?
This is my second time at IFFI, and I find it to be a very enriching experience. Second time I had a film at this festival, and first and foremost, it's an audience festival, and you go to the screenings, and the ones I've been to have been packed. Especially, I'm very lucky to be involved in with these films, and the level of engagement is very high. So, and the level of audience sophistication is very high. People come here; they really want to engage with cinema. And they know that these are not films you're going to get to see necessarily otherwise, and it's a vehicle for real public expression. So I love that. I mean, this is India. This is our home. This is the place I want to be doing this. So it's very special.
इफी 2016 में कई अलग खंड हैं और उसमें एक बहुत ही खास खंड है वुमेन्स का, जिसमें महिला निर्देशकों और महिला कलाकारों की खूबसूरत फिल्मों को आप देख सकते हैं और उनमें रिप्रेजेंट कर रही हैं रीना जी। रीना जी, आप बताइए किस तरह का अनुभव आपका इस वक्त है इफी में?
मुझे तो बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है। मेरा पहला अनुभव है, पहली बारी मैं गोवा आ रही हूँ और जैसे रिची ने कहा, ऑडियंस मिक्स्ड है, फिल्म वाले भी हैं एंड people from Goa, from Panjim, and it's interesting. भरा हुआ हॉल है और काफ़ी चर्चा भी हो रही है और अच्छा लग रहा है।
Nick?
I have nothing new to add. I think.
So, but Nick, like every year we have this special section for northeastern films, और वहाँ की कई कहानियाँ यहाँ पर बहुत ज़्यादा पसंद की, and you represent that part of India. So, how is your experience here? Do you think northeastern films are coming here and
Actually,
audience
to tell you
watching?
the truth, I haven't seen anything.
Achha,
because
okay.
We arrived 2 days ago, and I'm stuck with my film because that showed yesterday. So there was a lot of stuff that I had to coordinate, etc. So I really actually have.
So, how was the experience here at the screening?
Oh, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. We had a packed audience, and it was very receptive. The whole thing was organized very well. So really glad to be here, as with everybody else, I'm sure.
Okay. बहुत सारे सवाल इस वक्त ट्विटर पर हमारे पास आ रहे हैं। चलिए शुरुआत करते हैं और इबादा पूछ रही हैं, रीना मोहन से पूछना चाह रही हैं कि व्हाट इंस्पायर्स यू टू बी अ सिनेमाटोग्राफर? मैम,
ओके, सबसे पहले मैं क्लैरिफाई करूँ, मैं डायरेक्टर और एडिटर हूँ, मैं फिल्म इंस्टीट्यूट से हूँ और मैंने स्पेशलाइजेशन एडिटिंग में की थी। I graduated in 82. What inspires me is I work in documentaries, and what inspires me is entering people's lives that I wouldn't normally be able to access, to be able to tell the kind of stories that I'm able to share, to create films together with real people.
Okay, real stories और real people की यहाँ बात हुई है। रुचि, I was reading about your movie. I didn't watch it, but I was reading about your movie. उसमें एक बहुत ही अलग तरह की कहानी है। फिर रुचि will tell you more about the movie. It's सब पूरे इंडिया से लोगों ने भेजा है footage, and he's tried to capture and make it a movie. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's called India in a Day, and it's the first feature film by Google. And people all over India last year on October 10th shot footage of their lives on one day with their cameras and their phones, and uploaded that to Google, and we took it and made a documentary about one day in the life of India from midnight to midnight, according to everyone else's footage, according to their lives. So the whole exercise in constructing this film was editing, basically, and it's as authentic a voice as we could have gotten from those who chose to participate. So it's a wonderful tapestry, and I can say this because I didn't shoot it. It's a wonderful tapestry of a certain echelon of India that chose to participate.
शॉर्ट फिल्म्स और डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज एक ऐसा जॉनर जो मेरे ख्याल से आप सभी को बहुत ज़्यादा इंटरेस्ट कर रहा है. लेट्स टॉक अबाउट योर शॉर्ट मूवी, योर फेयरलेस. टेल अस अबाउट दैट.
So, Fearless is a short film. It's a 12-minute short film about a girl who gets stuck in riots in a slum and hides in a bathroom with another man, and she thinks he's going to sexually abuse her, but he was actually really protecting her. So, it's basically about, it's what we women especially, it's the other side of the sexual abuse that I wanted to, we want to be rational people. We want to be, we want to treat everyone as our equals. That's at least my upbringing. I want to respect people, but sometimes you kind of are blocked by stereotypes. You look at someone and you classify them as a rapist, or just because of the class he comes from or whatever. I don't normally like to do that, but sometimes under circumstances it happens, right? Like when you're in fear, you kind of have the worst things to think about, and then so that's something that my film was talking about. It's basically the other side of the bad things that are happening. It was just something that I thought of. And
ओके. रीना जी, महिला के किरदार किस तरह से पोर्ट्रे हो रहे हैं और क्या बायस्ड या प्रेजुडाइज्ड जो बात करते हैं उसका थोड़ा सा जिक्र किया. यू बीन विजिटिंग IFFI's वुमेन्स घर. किस तरह को आपको लगता है कि किस तरह की महिलाओं के किरदारों को दर्शाती हुई कहानियाँ हम देख रहे हैं इस वक्त भारतीय सिनेमा में. और टेल अस आल्सो अबाउट द सेक्शन व्हिच द फिल्म अबाउट योर फिल्म आल्सो, एंड अबाउट द होल सेक्शन. किस तरह से उसमें कोशिश की गई है?
वो तो मैं कह नहीं पाऊँगी, जिसने सेक्शन कंसीव किया है वो ही बात करेंगे. बट मैंने आज 2 फिल्में देखी हैं, which in fact I think it's a problem because we think we're looking at women's issues, but we are actually repeating the same patriarchal sort of stereotypes, and there are women for whom it's being told to them, this is good for you, so you should do this. And while the director may say it's authentic and this is really what happens, I think it's a bit of a trap actually. When you're making a film about women, I think even if you're trying to show something different, you're often, sometimes unconsciously, repeating the same patriarchal stereotypes, and I think that's a danger. I think 2 films that I've seen really had that problem, and I think उसके बारे में बहुत चर्चा होनी चाहिए, जो कि नहीं हो रही.
महिलाओं से जुड़ी यहाँ पर फिल्मों की बात कर रहे हैं तो एक फेयर एंड लवली की फिल्म है, उसको लेकर काफ़ी चर्चा हुई थी. फेयर एंड लवली मतलब ये तो ऐसी फेयर स्किन, इस पर वी हैव सीन लॉट ऑफ फिल्म एक्टर्स टेक अ स्टैंड और लॉट्स ऑफ डिस्कशन इवन इन दी Parliament also. Nick, tell us about your film. There's people haven't watched your film, Fair and Lovely. Tell us about that, and how was it? Was a changing experience for you also? Somebody asked that question.
Yes, and I have to say categorically that it wasn't. Because we shot it in a day. I'm a little embarrassed about the film. We didn't have the resources.
It's like my film.
I guess that we're the same. Yeah. But this was a while ago. This was about 3-4 years ago, and then we just had it was a small team, and we just decided to do it. But yeah, the idea was that you do something about because it's so rampant in this country, and I think it's crazy that you have film stars that actually stand there and say it's good to have fair skin. So yeah,
Celebrities, any celebrity.
So yeah, we did something very small on that. But the film that I have here is something else at IFFI, and that was the feature film that I made, which is Mantra.
So tell us about Mantra also. एक और बहुत ही ज्वलंत मुद्दे को उठाने की कोशिश की है निक ने अपनी अगली फिल्म में. Mantra, tell us about that.
Yeah, so Mantra, because the country has changed so much since 1991 after the economy opened up. So that was something that I wanted to do. You had a lot of films in the in the early 2000s and so on that started showing India in a new light. But they were, in a sense, vignettes of this new India. You know, there wasn't a film that directly spoke about the changes that have happened. So I wanted to do something which was more direct and about 1991. And so that's how Mantra happened. And it's about the buyout of this, you know, iconic snack brand in India, which was very popular in the 80s and the early 90s, because, you know, it was a closed economy. And then once, of course, the economy opened up and the multinationals swooped in, then, you know, it was a losing battle for the brand, because they just didn't have the kind of resources. And that was true of a lot of Indian brands. So the film is about, you know, this man who owns the brand and is fighting this battle, holding on to his company, you know, while, you know, against the multinational, but also losing this battle with his family. So it's also about the other members of the family and what they go through in this time of change.
He spoke about like it was very tough for him to, you know, he made his film in just one day and it was a resources crunch and like so many
The short
problems,
film.
like the short film or something. Like the new filmmakers do you know, experience those kind of crunches, like talking about making film is that easy, but releasing it and making it and just how trying to make everybody see that movie. I think we had a lot of discussion on that. What is your take on that? Like, you've been making the short films. Is it really tough to release them, to get a distributor or to get a platform to make people watch that film?
Not really. Fearless had been bought by a platform which is specifically for short films. It's on this site called Large Short Films, and I was quite surprised. And also, I was surprised by the number of viewers. Like in about 3 weeks, we had about like 3 lakh viewers or something, and I was thrilled because, you know, like I didn't expect my short film to have that kind of audience, and people are talking about it. There's an open discussion there happening, and I kind of realized that now we are in a time and age where people want to see different, like, you know, short content and independent cinema, like, or short films or whatever. So there's like this VOD, and there's a lot more opportunities for us to show our films and make some money out of it also, I think.
Richie, your thought on this?
It was different for me. I just, in terms of short, I haven't done a short film in 12 years now. So in the feature film world we're inhabiting now, it's obviously changing very rapidly. The film I just did is interesting because it's been given away on YouTube for free. It's now available on YouTube in India because it was a Google project. So their whole goal was not to sell the project, but just give it away. It was shot for free by Indians and it's been given back. So I think that's it's been amazing to work on a project in that manner, where there's no commerce consideration directly. But obviously my other films, future and past, need those considerations, and now it's gotten, like, camera technology changes every year, so does distribution models. Everything is evolving so quickly, and filmmaking has always been a vocation of kind of adapt and survive, with a bit of rebelliousness to it. So it's always been a bit of a reactionary, especially in the business sense. So to me, it's just watch and adapt at each stage. It takes me 3 years to make a film, and by that time I start and end, it's changed. The model has changed, and then you figure out what's happening. You come to places like this, you meet the people, and you figure out the best way to get it out without losing your soul, and try and muster the courage to go again.
रीना जी, जब आपने शुरुआत की थी और आप जो आप देख रहे हैं, आपको लग रहा है कि वो वाकई आप वो उस चेंज को और उसको जो रेवोल्यूशन की बात हो रही है, टेक्नोलॉजिकल रेवोल्यूशन, उसको आप महसूस कर पा रहे हैं? आपको लग रहा है कि इट्स हैपनिंग फॉर द बेटर? और
एब्सोल्युटली, आई थिंक विद डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी और आप आईफोन पे भी शूट कर सकते हैं, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा, तो सर्टेनली डेमोक्रेटाइजेशन हुआ है, ऑनलाइन रिलीजेस होती हैं, जैसे निशांति ने बोला है. It's of course it's wonderful. I mean, there's endless possibilities. And earlier there was heavier equipment. It just everything cost so much. Laboratories, processing, all of that. You needed more people. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Okay. Let's take a question from here. Payal B. Bharatwaj पूछना चाहते हैं निखिल से, what is your contribution and ideas to develop movie culture in our northeast region? किस तरह से वहाँ पर और ज़्यादा हम बढ़ावा या प्रोत्साहित कर सकते हैं वहाँ के filmmakers को या movie culture?
Yeah, well, I haven't started yet, but that's where I want to go. This film is, you know, I mean, I was in Bombay and we shot it in Delhi, so it's pretty much the larger India sort of film. But I do want to be able to go back to the Northeast and tell our stories. So I know it's going to be difficult. For one, it's regional cinema. Secondly, we don't have historically a great, you know, thing of filmmaking. So it's, and then there are just a couple of states that have actors. The rest really don't have a history of drama and so on. So I don't know how a tradition of drama and so on. So I don't know how it's going to go, but that's where I want to be. I think it's very much in the nascent stage at this point. Assamese, filmmaking, the Assamese industry has been around for a while. So that's the one that stands out. But the others are still kind of small. Manipur has a small industry.
This time we have the opening film of non-feature film section in the Indian Panorama is a film from Northeast, Iba Savitri. And it opened to a huge, like it's a packed house, Iba Savitri. I couldn't watch it, I couldn't get the ticket. That's why I'm telling you. It was a great hit here.
That's
You know,
great,
like
yeah,
the stories from Northeast, they are coming on this platform and people are really appreciating that.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a question which went, but it was Mr. Raj Gupta wanted to ask you, Reena ji, that are you making too much? Are you making many documentaries? How do you think documentaries are different from the films?
How are documentaries
Different from a film? That's what.
Well, just to put it very
And
simply.
I think you would like to know why aren't you making more movies and documentaries,
films.
like more feature films and more documentaries?
I don't have the patience for actors. I don't have the patience for vanities and egos. I'm not interested.
You're not speaking as an editor now. Yeah, I was going to say.
No, I've worked on features. I've assisted Renu Saluja on
Okay.
feature films. I've worked on features, but I've never related to them really.
Okay.
Especially Hindi feature films. No, I like documentaries.
Okay.
I like what I do.
Okay. There's one question Idli Vishwanath wants to ask. I just wanted to ask one very simple thing. Is there any revolution in Northeast cinema? Nicholas, you come.
I don't know, not yet. I think, but there's a Manipuri film called Lady of the Lake, which has been doing very well. It won at Mami. So I think things are getting better and better now. I think a lot of people are bold enough to make more real films, because there is a small industry that makes more commercial films, which are not of a very high standard. But yeah, as I said, I mean, there are more and more good films are coming out. So hopefully we'll see a bigger change.
Richie, he wanted to ask about the revolution. Like, I'm really interested in your movie. But kis tarah se do you visualize the idea? You thought of this thing that like crowdfunding is like we have heard and we are doing it crowdfunding, but calling for the footage from all over the India and making a movie that's something very novel and very interesting. So how did you visualize it and how did you go for it?
Listen, I was walking down the street in London one day last year and I got a phone call from the producer saying, "Do you want to do this?" I said yes. And it was that simple. So they had conceived of it. Google had conceived of it. The producer of the film is Ridley Scott. They had done it before all around the world, called Life in a Day, which is also on YouTube, where people all over the world contributed. They wanted to do India now. And they had basically put the whole project together. I said, "Would you like to direct it? We've seen some of your previous films. We think it would be interesting for you." I said, "I would do this pretty much I'd do it for free. This is a dream project."
Okay.
To take a year off and just watch footage that's given all over the country and then spend the time constructing it in a certain context. I mean, you can conceive of it, but then you need an engine like Google to process the footage. And in delivering the footage, it couldn't be uploaded in many regions. It had to be hand delivered. So they had arranged to hand deliver it in interiors and villages. You need infrastructure to do that. So I certainly couldn't do it. So I literally in this case just got lucky walking down the street and answering my phone.
Too much of reality TV. Would you like to do some fiction? Like plan? What are your next movie? Or what are you thinking now?
Well, I've done three fiction feature films before this. This is my first documentary, and the next 5 I'm doing are going to be fiction feature films, one after another, and many of them in India, in fact. So I am kind of born and raised in the fiction feature tradition. Though I will say that I studied documentary film editing, which I think is the best training for fiction screenwriting. I think it uses the same part of your brain to construct a story from a lexicon.
Okay, there's a question on my mobile also which says, Nishanti, it's for you, it says, you chose an upper class character through women from all class face similar problems. Like, I think they have seen your movie, so they are asking, I think in reference to that. How do you answer this?
As against other classes?
It says you have chosen an upper class character through women from all class face the similar problems, like something.
Yes, everyone, like all classes face similar problems, but I wanted this particular story because it's not just about sexual abuse or whatever it is. It's also like a bit of conditioning that this particular class goes through. Like I call it classist or whatever. Generally, you don't, you're not used to having your servants or anyone sitting with you at like your dining table, or and there is that, they don't do it also, like there is that, you try to be rational, but you try to be humane, but there is that fine line that both the classes never mix, cross. So this is more about it. It's less of a women empowerment movie, but more about classism and basically how an evolved woman is surviving in this world where she has these, ideals, and she wants to be a nice person, but she has fighting the conditioning and all that. So
Shishir wants to ask to you, Reena ji, what are your experiences as an independent filmmaker, and your treatment of women is totally different. How?
Treatment of women in films?
Yes, yeah. In
Well,
films.
I spoke about it. In the context of 2 films I've seen here, I think we have a long way to go before we think we're talking about women, but we're really not. I think we're just reinforcing stereotypes and the same old, patriarchal.
And how is the experience as an independent filmmaker? Do you feel that women filmmakers are here, or they are being taken seriously, or all these kind of questions? Like, no,
We're being taken seriously. Why shouldn't we? I think you're judged on the basis of your work.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're not really looked at as a woman filmmaker,
Yeah.
and your themes may be different, but there's no reason. I don't think there's any discrimination. But I do believe there aren't enough of us. Having said that, I don't think there are enough women technicians.
Okay, let's have a question. Sagrika wants to ask Nicholas, who is the next actor you want to work with?
Because as I said, I do actually want to go back to the Northeast and tell those stories. So I guess I want to work with actors from there. But having said that, because I'm thinking about my next film, I'm quite torn because I had such a great time working with the actors who were on this film. So Kalki was great, Rajat was fantastic, Adil was very giving, Shiv Pandit, a whole bunch of them who were really, really wonderful. So I keep thinking that I want to write a story that has all of them, again, so that I can use them because I had such a good time.
Yeah, because you had such an interesting star cast. There's a question for you. What were the parameters for choosing actors to? What were the parameters of choosing this star cast? There's a question also. So, you chose Kalki, this Adil Hussain.
I didn't choose them; they chose me.
Okay.
So I sent the script out and was hoping and praying, and they said yes because I had them in mind and reach out to them. Rajat, Kalki, even Adil. Yeah, so I reached out to them, and then I had backup plans, of course, as you always do. If you don't get this actor, maybe we'll try another one. But that didn't happen. I mean, it just stopped right there, right at the top, because I reached out to them and they said yes. So I was very lucky. Yeah.
Okay, Abdul Ali wants to ask Reena Mohan, what do you think how IFFI can motivate the artist or the filmmakers or the film culture?
I think it's a platform for interaction with audiences, so it's great. As any festival is, it's fantastic.
I think this time, if I've seen the catalogue and all, there's an amazing selection of movies in world cinema also, and the best of Indian cinema also. What do you have to say about that? You were able to match all. You saw 2 films today, but any other films?
I've seen more films,
More
but 2
films.
films that I had problems with. Yeah, but I think it's still great. I think maybe there could be more time for discussion post-screening, a little longer. But I understand if you have so many films, it has to be a little jam-packed. And you have to find the time for discussion outside.
Okay. Kaushik wants to ask one thing you want to change about the industry. I would like to ask all of you this question. Like, you guys are the new generation, and Reena ji, ab is samay se aap dekh rahi hain. What the one thing you want to change about the industry?
More women technicians.
More women technicians.
For sure.
Okay. I can get a job too then. You tell Nishanti.
I guess trying to explore more real stories in entertainment. There are, of course, in documentary real stories all the time, but in entertainment, it's always, we usually have the same kind of characters appearing over and over again. I think there are, like, in India, there are a world of different characters and stories every other day, and we should explore those stories, and there should be more monies on them, on those stories.
Money is one important issue. Richie, आप क्या कहेंगे?
I hope and wish that more time is spent on scripts and screenplays. I think people are really scrambling to make their films because it's easier to execute them. I think the one thing that has not changed over time is the care and attention that needs to be given to the page, to the concept, to the reasons one is doing a film, and how that's executed on the page, and the care with which it's crafted. And it takes patience and labor and method and study and consideration, and it's getting more and more difficult to carve out the time and patience to do that. I think a lot of young filmmakers are probably experiencing that, and I think there are too many movies being made that are skipping that stage. And I hope and wish that as things continue to evolve and things get quicker and attention spans decrease, filmmakers spend more time on their ideas and concepts.
अच्छी कहानियों की बहुत सख्त ज़रूरत है और कहानी को लिखने में. Nick, your take on that?
I'd say more real stories and told realistically. But I think we're all saying the same thing, you know. It's a different way of saying the same thing. Because we end up, even if you're looking at stories now where some people are being bold enough to pick up real stories, but they're told in this fashion which is again just the same old rehashed thing of, you know, doing it over the top. So you might pick something very relevant, something very current, something that's pertinent to us, but then you make it this, you know, song and dance affair. The characters are, you know, too black and white. And so it's all, the screenplay obviously not. It's all the same thing, I feel. I mean, if we can just, you know, try and make more real stories and just do it properly without having to over-dramatize and, you know, have this constant melodrama all the time.
Indian audiences like that, you know, over the top movies and blockbusters.
So it's a
lots
slow
of
change. I think
melodrama.
that change is being made. I think from within there's a pushing of the boundaries. So that's happening, but I think, you know, if you can do it a little faster, it would help all of us.
Because that's one reason we have this Indian panorama section where this opening film was it was a Sanskrit film, but also they have this commercial potwalas like Bahubali and Sultan in the same section, you know, to cater to the audiences of all taste. Richie, there's a question which has come for you. It says, in the context of Siddhartha, how does it work when you mix optimism and tragedy?
Wow, what a specific question.
Yes, very specific question. I don't know what he wants to ask.
So it's one of my films, feature film Siddhartha, is about a street laborer in Delhi who's searching for his missing son.
Okay.
And the film is based on a true story, and the issues this man faces in his searching for his missing boy don't apply to anybody in this room. He doesn't know how to spell his son's name. He doesn't have a photograph of his son. He doesn't know what the internet is. So the issues he faces are barriers that we wouldn't, and any one of us would make a life and death difference to this guy if we were with him. That's the story. How it unfolds in the film is we do not see the son. We follow the guy. And everyone he meets along this journey, through this tragedy, is either meeting him with indifference or compassion. They are not being cruel to him, as a stereotype would suggest. And so what you're actually seeing in the film is compassion that's holding together his world, and yet what we're feeling underneath it all is extreme tragedy. And so that's the dichotomy he's referring to contextualize the question. Very specific. Whoever said this has seen the film.
And I've seen the film.
And I think that balance is very, very important because, especially for an outsider like me, coming from Canada, now London to India, back and forth, it's very easy for someone, and very easy for any of us to exploit the drama that unfolds on the streets at any given day and say, look how terrible this is. What is more difficult, and I think more interesting and worth doing, especially in cinema, is to highlight this and then say, okay, what can we learn from this? On the one hand, I'm showing you an issue that needs to be discussed. On the other hand, this character has an emotional resilience, which I lack, because he has the endurance to go through it. And that dichotomy is so important, otherwise it becomes exploitation.
Reena ji, there's a question for you. How is your journey after Kamla Bhai?
That's my first film.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. I mean, it's been easier to make films. The first film is always
She
hard.
edits all her
I really
She edits all her
your use of language is so precise.
She's editor.
It's good.
Good.
Yeah, but the first film, I never got money for it, right? So it took me 4 years to make that film, and I was editing other projects and putting that money into this film. So anything after an experience like that would be easier because I could raise money for my films.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us on
you
this
very much.
platform. सोशल मीडिया का कितना जो सशक्त माध्यम है उसकी हमने एक बानगी देखी. डिजिटल वर्ल्ड पे किस तरह से हमारे फिल्म मेकर्स धमाल मचा रहे हैं और एक अच्छी कहानी की बहुत ही सख्त ज़रूरत है. कहानियाँ पूर्वोत्तर भारत से भी आ रही हैं और सबको बहुत लुभा रही हैं और साथ ही साथ जो हमारी महिला टेक्नीशियंस हैं वो भी कम है और ज़्यादा होने चाहिए. यही आई थिंक साथ निकल कर आया इस आज के सेशन का. लेकिन IFFI टॉकेथॉन 2016 के एक और बहुत ही खास सेशन के साथ हम बहुत जल्द लौटेंगे. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आज हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए. थैंक यू.
Thank you for
Thank you for having us.